Hello guys, welcome back. Let's get straight back into my Let's Play for Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 17, and we're currently around February the 15th. I think last time I said that I was going to pause just before the All-Star break trade deadline period, and we'll sim through. We'll have a little look through at the probably the All-Star game, the rookie and sophomore game, and the contest as well. But before we dive into that, first thing I want to do is just want to go to the trade screen, and I've been thinking about this a little bit. So obviously we're currently sitting at around 22 and 30. So if we look at the standings, we're I think just outside the playoffs by quite a bit now, several games back. So I know we've been discussing over the past few episodes whether we would try and make a move to try and get us into the playoff hunt, or whether it's a shop series and we just the rest of this year we just look towards the draft and look towards building with some of our young players that we've got. So with that in mind, one of the things you can do with Wolverine Studios Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 2017 is you can put players on your trade block, and the AI, if they particularly are interested in that player, can put an offer in, and you can start trades using that method as well. So for me, I think there's a couple of players I think we want to put on the block over this sort of last week of the trade period. The one for me I think is I would like to put Jordan Clarkson on there. I know Jordan Clarkson's had a really good season for us this year, in that he's been performing very well at the shooting guard position, but he's got a long contract, and for me he doesn't stand out as anything that we really are desperate to keep, and I think he has some good trade value now. So we're going to put him on the block and see whether we get any offers for him. The other couple of people that I'm going to look at is around probably around the likes of Nick Young, because if we look at Nick Young, he's got a player option next year. I mean, I can't see anyone really coming in for him because he's a pretty terrible player, but we'll see if anyone comes in. You never know. We can be hopeful that we can try and get rid of his contract. The other one is Lou Williams. So obviously, for those of you who follow the NBA in real life, Lou Williams in the trade deadline this year got moved to Houston, as they were looking for sort of an upgrade to their bench to make the playoffs and to really take them from a playoff team to a contender potentially. For us, I think obviously Lou Williams has been doing okay for us off the bench. He hasn't been doing anything stand out too much. He's not a great shooter, but he's a player that for a bench people might want. So we'll put him on the block as well. And I think in terms of everyone else, I think I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm not going to bother putting Mozgov on the trade block because I can't see anyone going for him. He's obviously got that huge contract that we've talked about before, and we're going to find it difficult to move him anyway. But I can't see anyone making strides to take on $16 million for this year at the trade deadline. So we'll keep him there. And I think I'm quite happy with the rest of it. I know we sort of talked about Russell possibly. Do we want to keep him long term? Do we want to try and trade him? He's only 19. He's still got options and things left on his contract, and he hasn't been doing too great for us this year. He has showed signs of potentially becoming an elite player, but it's more often than not he's shown that he's a pretty poor shooter. So, but I think in terms of putting him on the deadline for the block, I think we wouldn't get as good value for him, whereas I'd rather focus on deciding what to do with him in the off season when we've got picks and we know what the draft's going to look like, and we can predict it a little bit more. So we're going to keep him for now, and everyone else I think we'll sort of keep going. I mean, for me, the one that I was looking at as well, was debating around, was Tariq Black. I think he's not a great player. He's on a shortish deal, but the thing is, I like his defensive ability, and I think we probably just want to keep that depth now. He'll have a nice expiring option next year that we could probably use in a better situation anyway. So I'm going to put these three guys on the block, and as we sort of sim through the All-Star games and the trade deadline, we'll come back and we'll have a look, see what the AI has got available for us to look at, and see whether we can make a move there. And we'll see if we get any offers. We'll see what happens. So first thing is let's go straight in. Let's get through this All-Star period and see what happens really, and then we'll see how the trade deadline goes. So we'll just sim through this February the 15th, which is the day before the All-Star period, and we'll just sim through that because I forgot to do that last time, and we'll get going. Let's see what happens. So I think the first thing we'll have come up is the contests, and we'll see who the winners are of those. So you can see it's loading in the background here. Here we go. So the slam dunk champion was Maurice Harkless. Looks like nobody of interest really in the slam dunk competition this year. Harrison Barnes, possibly Terence Ross, probably the only ones that would stand out in terms of players. So a pretty weak slam dunk competition. Doesn't look like any of the big guys turned up for it this year. 3-point champion was Troy Daniels, which was surprising. Obviously there was some names in here that people would be fairly familiar with. Obviously Carl Corver being the one that everyone associates with the 3-point shot, and Klay Thompson as well, and JJ Redick. So there's quite a bit of competition for this one, looks like. We'll have a look at both of these in a second. We'll go and have a look at their profiles just to see, how they've been doing for the year, and see whether this is sort of their highlight of the year, or whether they've actually made grounds in terms of getting rotation places. So let's take a quick look at them. So we've got one who's in Portland and one who's in Memphis, it looks like. So let's look at first of all the 3-point winner, so Troy Daniels. So he's a 3-year veteran. It looks like he hasn't played many minutes, you can see by the stats here. He obviously is a predominant 3-point shooter. Let's take a look at the stats and see how he's been doing this year. So yeah, I mean, he's not been getting much game time. 8 minutes a game. He's been shooting okay, to be fair, and he's been shooting really well beyond the arc. So he looks like he is just a 3-point shooter and not much else by the looks of it. It looks like he's an okay defender, to be fair to him, but obviously he won the championship. For some reason, it's repeated itself there. So what's great about this game is that if people do get all-star appearances or do win awards and things, it does appear down here, so we can sort of track that as we go through. And perhaps next year he might win it again. We'll have another look at him, see whether he has improved again. If we look at the slam dunk champion, which was Maurice Harkless, so a 4-year veteran. It looks like he's on quite a big deal. He's not particularly a great player though. It looks like Portland are a bit stuck with him again. Doesn't look like he's had too much game time either. So let's have a look at his stats. So yeah, he's only played 7 minutes a game. Shooting okay, to be fair. Shooting okay, not too bad. But again, looks like this is the highlight of his season, winning the slam dunk contest. So congratulations to both of them. So let's go on. We're in this All-Star week. I'm not going to watch the rookie sophomore game. We'll just comment on it after. I mean, in terms of our franchise, the Lakers, I mean, it's a shame because I'd imagine that Ingram would have definitely been there as a rookie representative if he hadn't broken his ankle. So he's out. Be interested to see if the likes of Russell makes an appearance. I'm not sure whether he's been put forward yet. Looks like he's down here as a reserve, so looks like has. Is there anyone else? Nance Jr. probably won't get a look in. I can't. Oh no, he's got down as reserve. He's one that he's probably been playing well for us as well. So good to see both of them probably get representation. Hopefully they'll get some minutes and show what they're made of. But let's sim through and see how they do. So it looks like the sophomores won that quite convincingly. Obviously, with it being an all-star game, there's not a great amount of defence played, as you can see by the shooting percentages. So obviously the player of the game was Porzingis, who absolutely dominated, it looks like. Took 31 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, a steal. Really good performance by him. And if we look at our players in terms of the sophomore team, we had obviously Russell play, and he looks like he did fairly well. 7 points, 7 assists and 2 turnovers is not too bad. Again, it seems like in limited minutes he seems to shoot a lot better than he does as a starter, which is really interesting. Nice to see Larry Nance Jr. obviously get representation as well. Played 16 minutes, got 8 points, got a rebound. Not a lot to shout home about, but again, really good to see him in there. In terms of other players, I mean, looks like Porzingis absolutely dominated, but Karl Anthony Towns obviously had a good game as well. So obviously sophomores, sort of showing the rookies how it's done really. If we look at the rookies, I mean, there's not a lot of names that I really would recognise, associate with this playthrough really, apart from obviously Simmons has done really well this year for Philadelphia. So nice to see him get represented here. Tareem Prince has been in Atlanta. I don't think he's been getting too many minutes actually in this playthrough. So nice to see our guys get represented, and hopefully they can next year can push on to be like in the All-Star reckoning. That's where we want them to be. So hopefully we'll see how that goes. So let's dive in. Let's get to the main event for the All-Star weekend, which is the East V versus Western All-Stars. Obviously, I'm not expecting this to be a low-scoring defensive affair, but let's watch it and just see what happens and see which conference comes out on top. So we're not going to take any control of any teams. We're just going to play it through in 2D and see what happens. So in terms of the starters, I mean, probably some shocks in the Eastern Conference, I would say, if you compare this to obviously the real life NBA, in the fact that Ben Simmons, who was also in the rookie sophomore game, has actually got an all-star starting position, which is fantastic. Just shows how good a season he's been having, how good a season Philadelphia have been having, and how key he has been to it, really. Obviously John Wall starting, there's no it's really interesting that it's Wall and DeRozan in the backcourt. James and Vucevic is the interesting one for me as well. That front court is not what you'd expect from a real life NBA. So be interested to see how this Eastern All-Stars does against what is, I would expect, a more traditional Western All-Stars team, in that they have obviously Westbrook, Harden, Durant, Griffin, Davis. So we'll see how it goes. Let's crack into the game and see what happens. It'd be interesting to see if the young sort of Eastern team sort of comes out on top. And what we can see from here is you can see the bench. Obviously, Isaiah Thomas getting a nod. Obviously, Boston in this Let's Play have been doing really well, and he's been a key success for them for it. Obviously Butler, Anthony, Porzingis are sort of expected ones. Interestingly, Brook Lopez has got a recognition, which you would never think of that in real life. I think Brooklyn have been terrible in this Let's Play as well, so that's an interesting one. It may just show that the East is really weak for sort of centres, in the fact that he's got a nod over, well, I can't think of any others, but I mean, maybe that just the East is just struggling for centre players. Although Joel Embiid has obviously got recognition as well, and he's had a really good season. And then there's Paul George, who's expected to be on there. Obviously, he's been healthy all year, so much expected there. If we look at the bench for the Western Conference, you've obviously got Curry, who obviously has probably been nudged out by Westbrook, because Westbrook's been playing really well. And then you've got CJ McCollum, Gordon Hayward, Draymond Green, DeMarcus Cousins, Chris Paul, and Marc Gasol. So a fairly predictable Western Conference team, I think. Perhaps CJ McCollum would not get a nod in real life, possibly. But interesting to see how it goes. We'll just change the settings down so we can. Okay, cool. So there's no sounds on, so hopefully that won't disrupt anything. But what's really great about this game in terms of how they do the All-Star weekend is you can see they've all got their own sort of little player shirts on, which is really good. A couple of them have got like signatures, sort of like the emblems and stuff, and a couple of them haven't. But it makes it a little bit more interesting to watch. So let's just start it off and play through and see what happens. Really, I mean, looking at the lineups, I think the Western Conference should win this quite comfortably. I mean, in terms of the depth they've got, is as in real life, they should win quite comfortably. So expecting the Western Conference to come out on top here, but it'd be really interesting to see how the likes of Simon, Vucevic and Co do, whether they can step up to the plate for this game and sort of get some recognition. It'd be really interesting. As we can see early on, it's the Western Conference has taken a slight lead, but it's quite close. Obviously the shooting percentages are very high. Not a lot of defense is going to be played in this sort of all-star game, but it should be interesting. I mean, for me, I think if some of our rookies and some of our sort of younger players can develop, then this would be really good. Hopefully, we can get them in here and increase their trade value potentially by this. But we're a long way off from having an all-star player really at the moment. We've obviously got some youngsters we've got to develop. We're still sort of relying on some experienced veterans who've been around the league and sort of been around for a while, and haven't never really sort of stood out as all-star players. So a long way for us to go. It looks like it's a bit neck and neck at the moment. Obviously both teams are shooting very well. A couple of subs have gone in now, so it looks like the benches have come on now. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it looks like interesting. The East has taken a slight lead now as well throughout this first quarter, and they're just sort of hanging on really. But I mean, the All-Star games are interesting for us in the sense that we get to see like who the AI has really sort of thought has been performing really well, or who's potentially run some of the fan favourites within this sort of like playthrough. For me, I think it's really fascinating that the likes of Brook Lopez really is the one that stands out, that's got recommendations or got an all-star vote this time. Because for me, Brook Lopez on this, he doesn't stand out as being one of the best centres in the game. Brooklyn have been not playing very well this year at all, as likewise in real life. So it's very interesting that he's got a nod above, potentially not playing another centre. So see how that goes. And I mean, in terms of the other players, I think Simmons is the interesting one. Obviously, he's had a bit of an up and down season in real life with injury and things like that. But obviously, he's been healthy here. So obviously, a healthy Simmons in this playthrough shows that he is going to be a top talent in this league for a couple of years, long time. But I mean, I think in terms of the Western Conference, obviously we know Westbrook's been having a great year in real life, and he has been having a great year on this. He's not been a triple-double threat in this playthrough, but he has been sort of leading Oklahoma with all of their play really. So you expected him to be in the starting lineup for this All-Star game really. Interestingly though, Davis, when we've played Anthony Davis, he hasn't really stood out to me as being one of a dominant centre really. Obviously he's got some really good stats in this game, and he obviously has been playing very well, but he hasn't really shone as much as I thought he would. So when he's been up against us, he's struggled really against Gobert. So that's promising for us in that sense, that Gobert might potentially be looking at all-star recognition hopefully over the next couple of years if we can continue to develop him and work on his game. It looks like this sort of conference, this all-star game's a bit neck and neck at the moment. No one's really sort of come out and stood out as sort of tearing this one away, which is you kind of expect. I mean, they're both going to trade buckets left, right and centre. You can see quite clearly their field goal percentages are high, in at least 50% above. So not too much defence, but yeah. So we'll see what happens. So I think for me, I think it looks like we can see LeBron James is having a fairly good night. 10 points. He's got a couple of rebounds, 5 assists, quite a few turnovers though. So, but no one's really standing out. I mean, Westbrook's had a really good start. He's just gone straight back in now, but he's had a really good start with 12 points. But it'll be interesting to see who they think the player of the games are, or the ones to watch for the second half are at half time. So we'll see how that goes. Looks like West are just starting to edge that lead now, 6 points now, which is we kind of expected. Just sort of closing down this half now. It looks like they're just edging it. It looks like in terms of the West, it looks like that depth has just sort of given them that sort of advantage really at the moment. As we're sort of heading into the half, you can see they've taken that 8-point lead. They just sort of sped up in that second quarter and really took the advantage there. So let's have a little look at who they think the top players are. So yeah, look, as I sort of pointed out, LeBron James and Russell Westbrook are sort of the two that have been standing out, just in their points really. LeBron James doing a little bit more sort of in terms of assists and rebounds and things, but we'll see how it goes. If we look at the player stats, you can see it's fairly mixed. I mean, John Wall's had a good game, perfect shooting night. couple of 3 assists and 1 turnover. So maybe he'll if he gets some more minutes, he might step up and be the player of the game. But it looks like it's between Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, to be honest with you, at the moment. So let's go back to the game and get to the second half and see which conference comes out on top. And we're off. So obviously Western Conference is up by 8. We'll see if they can hold on to that lead or can extend it any further. Let's see what happens. Interestingly, Embiid seems to have come in and started in the second half with Simmons. They've gone for an all Philadelphia front line here, you can see. So obviously they're hoping that a bit of team connectivity will get them back into this game. Obviously, it looks like DeRozan hasn't really had too much to do. He hasn't really had much of the ball though. But he's one of those players, it seems like he has to have the ball, has to be shooting to really be effective. For me in this game, he hasn't really done anything to stand out. I think Toronto are borderline playoffs at the moment at best, so we can't really say that he's really been the best player for Toronto this year. Obviously Anthony Griffin there has been doing okay, a couple of points, a couple of rebounds and stuff. Only 1 rebound at the moment, but he's obviously been sort of struggling alongside Anthony Davis there really. So it looks like the Western Conference is just sort of holding at a lead, to be honest with you, keeping that lead at bay. So obviously Westbrook's off at the moment. Curry's gone in. I don't think Curry's had too many minutes because he's only got 2 points, 3 assists and a steal really. He's only shot once, so obviously looks like Westbrook's hogging a lot of the minutes there in terms of the point guard position. It looks like John Wall, look at that, John Wall looks like he's having a really great night. Look at that, 16 points, 8 of 9 from field goal range, 1 rebound, 4 steals, 5 assists and 1 turnover. So that's interesting. He looks like he's having a really good game. Whereas if you compare that to James, who's had 18 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, but he's had 7 turnovers and he's shot the ball 5 of 11. Obviously he's playing a lot more positions than Wall is, but for me, John Wall's having a really good night. And it looks like the Eastern Conference are just starting to edge it back. As I say that, they go back out to 6-point gap, but looks like this is actually sort of not being as high scoring as I thought it would. I thought this would have been a lot more of a high scoring game. I was expecting this to be in the 130s, 140s range, but it looks like some of the guys are sort of starting to knuckle down a little bit. So it looks like Eastern Conference has pulled it back to 2. Oh no, now to 4. But interesting. It looks like Westbrook's just gone in now again. But as I say, Curry's been sort of out there for quite a while now. If the Eastern Conference are to get this back, they've got to rally around John Wall and LeBron James really to get this one back. If it was me, I would probably have taken DeRozan off right now and put Butler in, for them to see if that could make an impact. Try and slow down James Harden, who's been shooting 5 of 15, which is not great, but he looks like he's taking a lot of shots. But it looks like that lead's now stretched out to 12 points, so it looks like the Western Conference has got this now. I can't see the Eastern Conference coming back now. There's only 10 minutes left, so it looks like it's going to be theirs to take, which is obviously good for us. Obviously being in the Western Conference, we like to keep that title over here, but in the Eastern Conference, it's really interesting, the fact that they've got sort of a real mixture of sort of young stars and sort of aging stars really. I mean, if you take LeBron James out of it, you've got Anthony who's aging. Obviously Lopez, I don't consider Lopez an all-star, I'll say that now, he's in a bit of a wild card entry for this one. There must have been some injuries or something which meant he got entered in. But then you've got the likes of Wall, DeRozan, Simmons, Vucevic, Thomas, Butler, Porzingis, George, Embiid. All of them are really young players. So whether they can all stay at that level, or stay at that all-star level, or continue to develop, could mean that the Eastern Conference could become quite a tricky conference in the future. Which if you look at the likes of the Western Conference, obviously you've got some young guys in there, in the likes of Hayward and Cousins, and Curry's not particularly that old, but you've got some more experienced players really in Chris Paul, the likes of James Harden, Durant, Marc Gasol. These are guys who are probably in their prime around about now. Obviously Chris Paul's probably just fading off his prime now, to be honest with you, but Interestingly, it looks like Chris Paul's only just got into the game in the fourth quarter here, so it looks like they've just started to bench people. And I think for me, the guy who's going to win the player of the game, it's going to be Westbrook, isn't it? I mean, 19 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds off of 4 turnovers. He's probably going to be the one that wins it, unless maybe Durant possibly as well, with that 21 points, 9 rebounds and 4 blocks. So it's probably between those two, which is really interesting because obviously used to be teammates, so there's probably a bit of competition there between them trying to make a point to each other as we sort of progress through on this. It's a shame really that the Eastern Conference didn't put up a little bit more of a fight. Looks like they're doing rallying a little bit now, but it's a little bit too late, I think, with 3 minutes to go. They're down by 15, 16 points now, so I can't see them getting back into this one unless one of them just turns it on really. This is definitely the Western Conference's title really this year. 2 minutes left, yeah. So interesting that it'd be really interesting to see how this sort of impacts the actual playoffs. So obviously we know the Eastern Conference is generally the weaker conference in real life, and probably in this playthrough they probably are as well. So it'd be really interesting to see whether anyone can compete with the Western Conference teams. Obviously we're probably looking at Golden State being the representative for the Western Conference, and probably Cleveland or Boston, I would say, for the Eastern Conference in this playthrough. So we'll see how that goes. Whether they can compete with each other, we'll see. But it turns out to be a slightly more high-scoring game in the end. But I'd expected it to be a high-scoring game. We'll just jump to the player of the game and have a look. And it looks like Durant has won the player of the game with 24 points, 3 assists, 10 rebounds, and 4 blocks. So obviously he saw Westbrook at half time making that player of the game appearance, one to watch, and he's decided to make a statement there. So that's great to see. Just sort of shows how strong Golden State are, in that they've got him and Curry and Green all representing the Western All-Stars. But let's come out of this and let's go back into our actual playthrough, and that's the All-Star weekend really done. We're sort of now back into business as usual really for the Lakers, or the Waves I should say. So as I sort of pointed out earlier, we're currently a few games back. We're gonna just sim through to the trade deadline, and we'll sort of stop there. And then I think what I'll do for the next one is we'll just carry on what we were doing previously and just simmer through a month or so, and then we'll sort of do a little recap and see whether there's anything we want to do in terms of changes. But obviously the big thing for us is that we'll hopefully have Ingram back towards the end of this season. Whether we're still in the sort of the borderline playoff hunt by then would be fantastic, because it'd be great to get him back and just see whether we can make that push. I mean, we're not that far out, so let's just sim through and let's see if we can look at any trades, see if we've got any options. And I'll stop it probably just on the trade deadline day, and I'll see if I can make any moves, and then we'll sort of come back to the next episode and see what's happened, and we'll have a little recap there. So we'll simmer through these days. Obviously there's no games for us this day, but whether we can if we can just get 1 or 2 more wins, just get us back into that hunt really, that would be really good for us. Whether we can do that or not, I don't know, but let's see. So let's go through. So today we're playing Atlanta, who are who've obviously got a good record. Let's see if we can get that win against them. Obviously we're currently playing Lance Jr. at sort of the 3 position, and Mozgov and Gobert up top. So we're sort of playing a big lineup, I guess. See how that goes. Looks like I think we've just got the win there. I don't know. I just saw the flash up. I think we did get the win. That's brilliant. So that's really good. That gets us back into sort of the hunt. Hopefully, reduce the games depend on the other games really. A good win there by 5 points, which is fantastic. It looks like we did okay. We obviously didn't shoot too well. Clarkson obviously he's on the trade blocks. He's making a little bit of a statement there probably, but it looks like we've done okay. Again, Russell didn't shoot particularly well, but looks like we managed to hold them and to get that win, which is really good. We didn't shoot too well in the third quarter, but we held them in the second quarter to 15 points, which is fantastic. So let's go through to the next game. And we've got a back-to-back against Golden State. Not expecting to win this one. Then they're 51-3. I mean, that's a ridiculous record so far. Be interested to see if they can beat the all-time record they obviously set last year in real life. So we'll see how that goes. But obviously they're having a fantastic season. If we can get a win against them, that'd be great. But I'm not too hopeful. We sort of did that playthrough the other day and saw how big a gap it is really, and it is a massive gap. I mean, they actually destroyed us in this sim, 115-71. I mean, we didn't play very well. Obviously, Nance Jr. had a good game actually. He's the only one who really did. Looks like Steph Curry just took us to school really. So we're just outside the trade deadline now. Let's have a little look. Have we had any offers for any players? Looks like we've had a couple of offers. What have we got? So we've had an offer of Amir Johnson, the second round pick for Lou Williams. Or we've had an offer of Shane Larkin and PJ Tucker for Lou Williams. Let's have a little look. Before we sort of shut this one down, I know we're going to slightly run over in this one in terms of my aim for half an hour sort of episodes. But let's take a look. So we've got Amir Johnson on offer. Let's have a look what he looks like. Where is he? So he's on a $12 million expiring contract, which is good, and a second round pick for Lou Williams. Or we had an offer from the Spurs, I think it was, for Shane Larkin and PJ Tucker. Doesn't look like they could trade PJ Tucker. Looks like he's still trade restricted, so I don't think that one would even go through. But PJ Tucker's he's not a bad player actually. He's a pretty good rebounder, good defender. He plays small forward that we need. It's a position we need, obviously with the injuries that we've had. And Shane Larkin, who is a fairly good player actually, for a backup point guard, he's pretty strong. So I guess it comes down to, if we take the San Antonio deal, we're being confident and thinking that we can make the playoffs, because we could obviously move PJ Tucker straight into small forward position. Shane Larkin could probably come in and back up point guard. It means they can then look at possibly moving Calderon maybe. So I guess in terms of the San Antonio deal, that's probably a deal we'd take if we think we're going to make the playoffs. The other deal is obviously an expiring contract in Amir Johnson and a second round pick for Lou Williams. That's, I guess, a longer term outlook. So we'd obviously get Lou Williams' salary back, which I think is about $7 million a year. So we won't have his contract next year. So it gives us a bit more cap to play with. So I guess it comes down to, do we think if we took PJ Tucker on, he would be enough to just keep us balanced and get us a couple of wins to get us into the playoffs? And even then we'd probably go in as a late seed. Or do we think that Boston and taking that longer term deal is probably better? For me, I think we're going to take the Boston deal, guys. I think even if we get into the playoffs this year, which would be fantastic, we're still not going to be championship material. I think if we take this deal, we get a second round pick. Obviously, that's a complete shot. We could get an absolute scrub at that. It would be a low second round pick. But I think for me, the bit that does it is that Amir Johnson's contract is expiring, and we'll get that salary back from Lou Williams, which gives us an extra $7 million that we could potentially use in the free agency market, which would be a lot more beneficial to us. So I'm going to make that deal. There we go. So obviously it leaves us a bit short at shooting guard, but I wonder if, it looks like Russell's got an injury, but I wonder if Russell could play some shooting guard as well. That might be, he might have more of an impact there as well for now, where he's shooting, but we'll see. So we'll end the episode there, guys. Obviously we haven't really done a great deal at the deadline. Let's just have a quick flick through actually before we stop, and just so we can see if anyone is available. So look, Brook Lopez was an all-star and he's on the trade block for Brooklyn. That's how bad they've been this year. He's got an okay stats. To be fair, he has been playing really well for them in terms of points, but they're not winning. They're not a winning record. How could someone be an all-star if they've not got that sort of winning record? Let's just quickly scroll down and see what we've got available. See if there's anyone that sort of stands out. Clay Thompson's on the block there, but I don't think he's going to suit us, and I don't think we'd be able to get him. Interestingly, James Harden's on the block, which is interesting. I might have a little look, see whether I can make a move for James Harden. That'll be difficult to do though, because they'll want a lot for him. Let's scroll down. Indiana haven't got anything. LA haven't got anything. Obviously there's ours. Just flick through. Hassan Whiteside. That would have been a great option if we didn't have Gobert. Let's just flick right the way through. Carmelo Anthony's obviously seems to be always on the trade block on this game, but and Derrick Rose as well is probably the one to stand out. So a little flick through. So it's a little bit of a small sort of deadline really. There's not a lot going on. Obviously, again, DeRozan. Look, just what I was saying to you guys is that he obviously he scores points, but his contract is atrocious. They're trying to shop him like anything. Kyle Lowry is an interesting one. Perhaps we might want to have a think about that one. But I think we'll end it there, guys. We'll come back next time. We'll recap if there's been any trades for us or for the AI, and we'll see how we sort of we get on. So I think what we'll do next time is we'll recap some of those trades, like I said, and we'll just sim through the schedule and see how we do. So obviously we'll sort of come out towards that we'll probably sim towards the end of March and see how we're getting on, see whether there's anything, whether we are in the playoff hunt or whether we're looking at draft, looking at lottery balls then. So we'll see how we get on. But if you've got any comments or any ideas or any suggestions on things that we might want to look at, going into the off season, anything you think we might want to do to try and get us into that playoff hunt, then just hit that comments button below. And as always, if you want to follow the episodes along as they come out, just hit that subscribe button.